In a world of ordinary fantasy football podcasts, ordinary guys rise up to bring you extraordinary analysis and entertainment. This is the FLAFFL House Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts Kevin Cotillo, Sal Lito, and Stephen Marcus.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today is Thursday, December 22nd, and this is the FLAFFL House Fantasy Football Podcast. As just mentioned in the open, I am your host, Kevin Cotillo, and I have with me multiple people tonight, not just the usuals. I got Sal, obviously. What's going on, Sal?
Feliz Navidad, amigos.
¿Cómo estás? And happy Festivus to you, Sal. We also have Steve with us, of course.
Yes, happy Festivus to everybody, to all of Falafel Land out there. Happy Festivus. Very happy to be here.
Because it is Festivus, guys, I got you both a present.
What's in the box?
We have a guest. I brought a guest on for Festivus because I thought you guys needed a little extra tonight. So we have our Canadian friend with us tonight.
Hey, brothers.
What's going on, Jay? Obviously, Jay, you may know him as One Little Indian from the Fantasy Life app, or you may know him as Jay or the Dirty Canadian. I don't know. How many nicknames do you have?
All are acceptable. At this point, I've been called worse.
That's very true. Also, guys, we should let the public know that we are trying this on a brand new program tonight. So technical difficulties could arise. We're going to try. We're going to try our best, but it should be a good show.
It should be. And it should be noted that Jay, also of Falafel House website fame, he writes our weekly waiver wire column, article, all that kind of stuff. He has been providing that for everybody all season long. So very happy to have him in as his services are no longer needed. So perfect timing for that.
Perfect timing. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and he actually begged us to come on the show a lot this season. So we finally had to let him on just to shut him up because it was really starting to get annoying.
Jay, what do you got to say about that, huh?
It's all about persistence. Whether you get on through begging, I've begged for worse, I guess.
That's right. All right.
Well,
so
that's a whole nother podcast. So
that's right. We have a great show for you tonight. This one's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be great for us anyway. I don't know if the people listening will enjoy it, but hopefully you will, because I think we're going to try and make this an annual tradition. We've been talking about it for quite some time. The FLAFFL Festivus episode, where we are going to let our listeners and our friends from the Fantasy Life app air their grievances about this fantasy football season. For those of you who don't know, Festivus is a Seinfeld holiday from the show Seinfeld. It was started on the show, and like I said before, if you don't know what it is, Google it, Brandon, and check out the episode because it is hilarious. But before we get into all that, we have to take care of some business. First, we should warn you, there's not a lot of fantasy football in this episode.
No. Not relevant.
Remind the people, Kevin, though, if they're tuning in on Friday and they typically expect our preview show for the weekend, we did that show on Wednesday. It's right on the list before this one. You could download and listen to it through the miracle of podcasting.
That's great. Yes, a very good point, Sal. You can listen to the preview episode. It was before this, so as he mentioned. So do that. Get your information. If you are in your championships this week, we still want you to win. But for today, it's going to be all about the fun. So second note of housekeeping, or not housekeeping really, we want to update you on Falafel because that's one of the reasons you listen to us, right? You care about our leagues. We care about your leagues. And Steve really cares about Falafel leagues because, well, he has to commission all of them. So, Steve, what do you got for Falafel? What's going on in the Falafel championships this week?
Well, like you said, it is the Falafel Championship week, as it is for many fantasy football leagues. For all 4 Falafel leagues, the same thing is going down. So we thought we'd give you an update as to those 8 teams that are going to be vying for the championship. Starting with Falafel, we have our very own Wally Central going against Eagles Nation, who I believe is our youngest Falafel League member. not our youngest Falafel member overall, but he's one of the younger ones there. So a good matchup there.
Is he younger than the high school league people?
He's in high school. So
no, he is not. He graduated high school this past year, so he's he's his first year out of high school.
So we do have the Falafel High School League, so
that's true. And then we've also, CB, I think he just left high school as well. So we've got a few youngins there. So he's representing the young crowd for sure. Falafel Jr., we've got a GA17 versus Corey. So that is going to be a very good match. One of those guys is going to be coming up into Falafel. And then Falafel Embryo, we've got Dead Duck versus Go Pat Go. And in the Falafel Ladies League, we've got Annie Packers versus Sam Awesome. So all four of these leagues, very, very competitive, very difficult. As everyone has said, we've picked everyone very well, it seems. So good luck to everybody this week. A very, very important week, and a very important week for us relegation members, myself included. And so just good luck to everyone but P. Dolo, man. I really hope your team sucks this week. I'm sorry. I have to.
So quick straw poll. You guys are all rooting for me, right? Right.
I don't know if I can take a year of hearing about that. I don't know.
You don't have a crickets thing on that little...
No crickets. The best I could do is this. So apparently you guys rooting for me is a joke.
It's tough for me, Kev. It's really tough because I do like you some from time to time, and I do want to root for you, but if Eagles Nation wins, then I get to say I lost to the champion.
Right.
So I got that going on.
That's true. I have a couple people rooting for me for that reason as well, so that's good.
If Kev wins, Sal, you'd also be the only host of this podcast without having owned the Falafel Trophy.
Well, the good news is I'll still be in Falafel next year.
Hey, it is yet to be seen if that was a burn or not. We will get back to that.
All right, so listen, the other exciting thing that went on this year, besides the Falafel Leagues, on the Fantasy Life app, there was a Scott Fishbowl-like tournament for the Fantasy Life app, appropriately named the Fantasy Life Bowl. Sal, you want to give us a little update on that too, right?
Yeah, Cheesy reached out to me. That's Matt from the Fantasy Life app. He goes by the tag name of @Cheesy, and he did organize this year, and he is getting it ready for next year. And he let me know the 7 finalists. So this started out with 8 divisions of 12 teams, so 96 players. And we worked our way through a 13-week season, and then we got to the postseason, and we've whittled it all the way down to 7 players. And those 7 players are from the Fantasy Life OGs, Jay Marin, Turned Down for Watt, Rose, Daddy, Nick Tarr, Adrian Peterson. Again, he's doing better in fantasy than he is. And from the Fantasy Life team himself, Yasin is also in there. So after this week, one of those 7 guys will be crowned the first champion of the Fantasy Life Bowl. Kevin, I would just like to say that high school league is technically called the Fantasy Life App High School League, not the Falafel League, even though I organized it and I ran it. We opened it up to the entire app. And in the final this week is none other than my son, who made it all the way to the finals on his own, because we know if he followed me, he would not be in a final because I'm in 0.
He's my favorite Salito, by the way.
Well, I'm going to say this real quick. He's playing against Jigsaw, who everybody knows. Jigsaw hangs out in Falafel a lot. He's another good kid. And Jigsaw changed the name of his team this week to Team Beat Salito's Son. So that should be fun. And by the way, because it is our Festivus episode, and because my father is the person who actually turned me on to Seinfeld when I was a teenager, my father is listening to the podcast, I believe, for the first time for this episode, and he's also Salito, so you've now insulted my father.
No, I don't think he'd be insulted by that. I think he'd understand. Your son's a cool kid. Friend of the podcast.
Salito. He has been on the podcast. That is true.
That's right. And performed better on the podcast than Jay. So, I mean, you got to like that.
Hey, wait, listen, while we're on the topic of my son and being good at fantasy football, as we know, Scott Fish reached out to us through Twitter and told us he might win the charity league that he entered this year, my son. And if he does that, he will win a spot in next year's Scott Fish Bowl. And Scott has threatened to put him in my division.
I really hope that happens. That would be phenomenal. So great. All right, guys. So what do you think? You want to start getting to some grievances?
Oh, yeah, it's that time.
It is that time? All right. Well,
Jay says
let's.
it's time.
Well, if Jay says it's time, then it's definitely time. Right. Sorry, I got a new button. What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna need to talk to HR.
Yeah. All right. So let's start off the let's kick off the Festivus season.
As a rain blows upon him, I realized there had to be another way. A new holiday was born. A Festivus for the rest of us. Festivus is back! I'll get the pole out of the crawl space.
Is that the pole?
George, Festivus is your heritage. It's part of who you are.
That's why I hate it.
Tell them all the ways they have disappointed you over the past year. The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're gonna hear about it.
Another Festivus miracle.
And now, as Festivus rolls on, we come to the feats of strength. I find tinsel distracting.
Oh, nice job putting that together, Steve. Obviously, that's some clips from the show there. Great show, great episode. And Steve, good job putting that together. I do want to say for all of those Seinfeld executives that are listening, please don't sue us.
You'll get nothing. You'll get absolutely nothing.
There is no money involved in this podcast. We should make that clear.
So, Festivus trivia, Kevin.
Yes.
Who knows what the actual name of that episode is? It's not Festivus.
Is it something about the bagel shop?
It does have to do with the bagel shop.
Oh man, because the whole point of the episode is Kramer went on strike for religious freedom, right?
The name of the episode is The Strike. You nailed it.
All right, so that obviously is our opening to the Festivus season. We will start off with some airing of grievances. The first one we're going to go through here comes from our friend Showcase. Jay, real quickly, you have not heard any of these, correct?
Correct.
So, what do you think Showcase is gonna sound like here? You've talked to him on the app several times. You know the guy a little bit.
Oh, I think there's going to be some sweet rage, probably similar to what we lost in the championship baseball game this year. So I expect nothing but fire.
All right, so let's get right to it. Here we go with Showcase. What is he? Showcase 4? I always forget.
Yep,
that is
Showcase
correct.
4.
Showcase 4. Showcase 4. Here we go.
Showcase number 4, errands of grievances. Let's start off small. Beginning of the year, I drafted Lyndall Smallwood. I haven't came up with a catchy catchphrase. I got Big Wood for Smallwood. Now, for you folks that don't catch that, that's a pun, meaning a man with a small penis I have a large erection for. That didn't pan out. He got his opportunities. Still nothing. Pretty upset about that. Thought I was clever. Didn't happen. Now, on to, if you're listening to this, was most likely my loss and exit from possible championship in FLAFFL Junior. Now, my big name stepped up, but Bailey, you screwed me. Graham, you screwed me. Jack's defense, you screwed me. So for the next 10 seconds, you mother Nancy donkey mother rabbit Festivus.
All right. I like how the last few words we could hear were Nancy, donkey, and rabbit.
I do believe we should let the people out there know that he did serve our country. He is a veteran, and that explains a lot.
Yes, it does explain a lot. Yeah, that's a pretty good start to the evening, I think. What do you guys think?
Top notch.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, you can't go
wrong. Any of those players screw any of you guys?
No, plenty have screwed me, but I have none on that list that hurt me this year.
Yeah, I tend not to complain about kickers too much.
And the Jags D, come on. I know Kevin loves them, and they're the number one defense.
No one ever said number one. They're just underrated, all right?
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize.
All right, guys, let's continue on.
There's Kevin's grievance.
That's part of my grievance right there is Jay being stupid. So this next one came in from one of our favorite guys on the app, one of my true friends, Mr. Darth Peachy.
Wow,
I think
you can't say his name.
He's
Just
definitely
brutal.
Darth Peachy. It's clear that that's the way it is. We're gonna hear what he has to complain about as well.
What's up, Falafel House? It's your boy Darth Paikai. My FLAFFL Festivus grievance is the gatekeeper and the keymaster of our fantasy football weekends. Thursday night football and Monday night football. We always go into Thursday night with such high hopes for our lineups just to get kicked in the nuts so we could stare at our lineup for 2 days wondering what the hell we did wrong with our lives. The second is Monday night football. I've lost 3 matchups towards the end of the Monday night games. The first was when Riverboat Ronnie and the Panthers decided they were going to throw the ball to Greg Olsen on 1st and goal at the 1. The ball got intercepted instead of handing the ball off to Cameron Artis-Payne, which was a sure thing all game. The second was when the Jets put in Geno Smith over pick 6. He ended up getting sacked twice and turning the ball over on downs. My opponent obviously had the Arizona D. I ended up losing that game in the last 2 minutes. And then finally, I was playing against Latavius Murray when the Raiders played the Texans in Mexico City. I lost that game on the last 2 carries.
Definitely a good one there. Yeah, that is brutal.
Monday nights have been terrible this year for me, especially. I've not had one Monday night comeback all season long in any league that I can think of. It's been so rough Monday nights. I've only lost games on Monday, and usually it has ended up with me having someone left and them just underperforming like they have all season long. So Mondays, I agree with you, Darth Paikai. I agree. Monday nights have sucked. I like Thursday nights because I don't like waiting so long for football, so I give Thursday nights a pass. I just don't expect much from them.
But it's always terrible.
I just don't expect
Thursday
much.
nights are usually bad. They are pretty bad.
Terrible.
You guys have your lower your expectations, huh?
I'd rather watch the CFL.
Well, you would.
So listen, I actually don't have a formal grievance. We're going to get to all your grievances at the end of this show, you guys here in the episode. But I will say this: you know what's worse than losing on a Monday, Steve? Losing on a freaking Wednesday. Stat corrections. That's one grievance that I have. How about stat corrections?
They're necessary.
They're not necessary. They're not necessary at all. It should be done and over with.
Nah.
So if there's a mistake, you live with the mistake?
You live with the mistake. There's no way I want to wake up either way. Well, I guess if I win, I kind of want to see it. But no, it's the worst. That's the absolute kick in the beanbag right there.
I was going to make a reference to Brandon about, when you have a mistake, if you just live with it. But I'll just let you guys.
Wow. All right. So, Sal, you want to introduce this next one? It's one of our good friends. I think you were the first guy to reach out to him and sort of connect with him, and you're in one of his leagues, Superpower League. So you want to introduce our friend here?
Oh, it's actually called the Power Hungry League, and this is my good buddy John Bosch. I also did the ADP challenge with John this year. It was great getting to know this guy. We've met so many great people out there in the fantasy industry doing different things, and I probably should grieve. I put in my grievances him getting me into that Power Hungry and having to deal with that insane auction. That was probably the most grueling thing I've ever participated in. So here's our good friend John Bosch from the Fantasy Insanity podcast.
All right, so we got some technical difficulties on John's here, so we're going to have to try that again. Great intro, though, Sal.
I'm sorry, John.
That's great. Okay, of course. Let Sal intro one, and we got nothing here.
Hi, this is John Bosch of the Fantasy Insanity podcast. I'll air a few grievances here.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
Dez Bryant. You started off the season with a thud. And in week 14, you ended my season with a thud. Thankfully, I don't trust you at all in Dynasty, so all you ruined was redraft. You did such a fantastic job of doing that. I will trust you never. Dez. Awful. Week 14, let's talk about that. Drew Brees. What a great season you had. Well, I guess when you were at home. Heaven forbid you play away from home at all and put up numbers anywhere. But in week 14, you just tanked. You killed so many of my teams. Oh, and bad quarterbacks? Let's talk about bad quarterbacks. Blake freaking Broken Bortles and Brock Osweiler. You ruined two of the best fantasy assets out there. How do you ruin Allen Robinson and DeAndre Hopkins? You two are awful. Thank you for ruining the potential of such great things. I do feel better. Happy Festivus, everybody.
Nice. Very nice. Glad we got that to work because I think Sal would have killed me otherwise. Great grievances there, though. That Week 14 game was brutal for Drew Brees. It really was.
That was one we were touting. We were touting that game for weeks, right? Playing
Everyone was waiting for it. It was highlighted on everyone's calendar.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Week 14 for me will forever be remembered as the death of Melvin Gordon, and also the death of multiple fantasy season or fantasy leagues for me.
Those grievances are coming, Steve. Trust me.
Yeah. Think about that. It's possible that you had Melvin Gordon, Drew Brees, and Julio Jones all on your roster.
Oh, I threw up in my mouth a little bit.
I keep telling you guys, I had Matt Forte, Melvin Gordon, Des Bryant, and Julio Jones all on one roster. And that Week 14 was just like, man, let's just not let you have a chance at all.
How many points did your team actually score that week?
It was like 70, I think. It was rough. It was a 10-team half-point PPR, just brutal.
That is brutal.
So,
all right. Well, let's move along then before Steve continues down his depression spiral.
Thank you.
We have this next one comes in from another gentleman in the Falafel League with us, Mr. Shai Ruxin. And Steve, I think this one you might enjoy quite a bit.
Oh, thanks.
It's musical, and you're mentioned in it, so
I like it already.
So this is my FLAFFL Festivus grievance, and I figured since this is for Falafel, I'm only going to focus on my Falafel team, and since this is a Festivus, I decided to make it into a song. Now, I doubt it will be as good as Soft Tissue Issues, as Sal likes to sing for us, but here we go. Season looked to be successful, but then I lost AP week 3. Not that it really mattered. He looked bad before his knee. I still had Tevin Coleman, and McKinnon was on my team. Unfortunately, it didn't matter. Palmer is done, it seems. I started playing Brian Hoyer, but injuries got him too. Not to mention Kevin White. My team was rather black and blue. The season could have been much worse, though. I could have ended up like Steve. If he doesn't get a big win, he is going to have to leave.
Might I say that was very well written, Rob, but you are a terrible singer. You should never do that again.
Yeah, no, he should have had you sing for him, Sal. There's no question about that.
I would have belted that out.
I enjoy people taking their shots at me. I really do.
Yeah, relegation jokes will always be funny.
Yeah, let me tell you, they're hilarious. They are hilarious.
Oh man, Adrian Peterson definitely one of my grievances this year too. Only had him in one league, but that's brutal because not only was he terrible, but then just gone.
Adrian Peterson, I only drafted him in one league, and before the season started, I traded him in a deal for Ezekiel Elliott. So,
wow,
no grievances there.
Yeah, that's not a grievance at all.
No, and that's actually the only league that I'm still alive in. That is the Frankenflex League put together by Gates, the 8-team, like 13 starters. It's just it's a crazy league. So. I'm still alive in that one. That's my one championship.
Nice. No relegation fear there.
Absolutely not.
All right, so we allowed Showcase to come up with another one because he's just an angry man, and he's got a lot to say. So we're gonna let him grieve a little bit longer here.
Number 4, airing of grievances, take 2. For this season, like every other season, the tight end position has thoroughly me. So you, Jimmy Brown. You did it to me 2 weeks in a row. I traded for you, and you screwed me. You screwed me hard. You screwed me with no lube. And there's $100,000 for whoever gives me your nuts. Now, let's move on to kickers. Dan Bailey, supposed to be one of the most accurate kickers in the league. You've done jack for me. Why don't you just take a big, warm right on my face? You piece of All right. Now to just get it out, get ready for the beat button. You piece of mother spreading horse mother. I hope you get in your serenity now.
Serenity now. I love that he throws the serenity now in there. That's great.
Oh man, Showcase, my friend.
Oh, it's going to be
a
colorful Christmas around at Tim's house.
Yeah, no kidding. That is nice. Definitely thank you for bringing those both in. That's great. A little overlap. Still not sure why you're complaining about kickers because, they're kickers, but we definitely appreciate it nonetheless.
I think that's one of my grievances. Kickers get no respect. Absolutely no respect. But listen, defenses get you negative points. When's the last time a kicker got you negative points? If anything should be eliminated from leagues, it's defenses.
Listen, I have a league where we get negative points for missed field goals, and you get a negative 10-point penalty for a missed extra point, which up until this year wasn't terrible.
Yeah, but I don't mind that. And so there's kickers that you wouldn't roster.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's kickers you wouldn't roster. Listen, I've answered many kicker questions in the Falafel House chat, and I always end the question with the hashtag Kickers Lives Matter because they do.
I agree. But people talk about eliminating kickers from leagues. I honestly think it's defenses that need to be eliminated.
I'll tell you what, I made the motion earlier today to get rid of kickers in one of my leagues. So
I'm on board with that, though. I am.
Terrible people. You terrible, terrible, terrible people. I will challenge either one of you for a feat of strength if you come to Canada.
Wow.
You got to go to Canada just to get your ass kicked.
That's right. My ass kicked here. All right, I don't need to travel.
Yeah, you seem awfully angry for a Canadian, too, by the way. Aren't you supposed to be polite?
Are you watching the game tonight?
You could at least say please.
Are you watching the game tonight?
You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine.
It'll be fine. It's the Eagles. Come on.
That's all right. Makes it even worse.
Let's keep moving along here. We got a lot to get to. We got a lot of problems with you people. So our friend Gates is going to lead us off with this next one here.
Jingle bells, my team smells, Moncrief laid an egg. Forte's down, Gordon's out, and Rivers the bed. Hey, jingle bells, my team smells, Ryan's on my bench. No Julio, let Pal go, AJ won't have a catch. Oh, jingle bells, my team failed, no titles for this year. Watch yourself, I'm bringing hell, gonna wreck you all next year.
Nice. I like that.
Well done.
Much better singer than Rob, our friend Shai Ruxin.
Yeah, he actually could carry a tune there, and I will point out again another gentleman who served our country. So to Gates, thank you for your service. Great job singing. Thank you for your Festivus entry.
Absolutely, and it sounded like he was singing about your season too, Sal.
Yeah, that was a lot of my players. I was tearing up over here a little bit as he was singing. They were not tears of joy.
Yeah. All right. Listen, this next one I am excited for. You should be excited too, Sal, because he's a fellow New Yorker. So it'll sound a little bit like you. It's probably, of all the rants that I've listened to, I think it's probably one of the better ones done by a guy who rants better than most people. Our good friend of the show, Dynasty Frank. You can You can check them out on the Bull Rush podcast with our other friend Scott Fish and Ty from St. Louis. Obviously, those guys do a great job on the Bull Rush podcast, and you follow him on Twitter. He's at Dynasty Frank because he's hilarious. Lots of good stuff to go there, but we will see what he is angry about this year.
First, I'd like to thank the Falafel guys for this opportunity to air my grievances on this joyous Festivus season, because I have a bone to pick with a few of these players. Devontae Parker, you piece of trash. Everyone was so ready for you to explode, but nope. You have all this potential, and what do you do with it? Nothing. You the bed. I traded damn 101 for you, and what do you give me? Nothing. Screw you. And what about this Treadwell? Some people took you at 102, and what did they get? A scrub that can't beat out Charles Johnson or Cordero Patterson on a damn depth chart? And how the hell hasn't Paul Perkins jumped Rashard Jennings on the depth chart? I know why, because he's a giant. The same team that kept feeding Andre Williams, and the same team that still trots out Eric the Turnstile Flowers at left tackle. Eli is out there with happy feet like some penguin in the Arctic because you're an embarrassment to offensive linemen everywhere. You're 300 pounds and get manhandled by cornerbacks. You're afraid to put your hands on a defensive lineman like you're going to end up on some sex offender list or something. Eli has about 2 seconds to throw. Our run game is atrocious, and you're out there sliding around like you're on ice skates or something. And don't get me started on Eli Apple or Jerry Reese, please. Anyway, happy Festivus, you
So, Jay, you should appreciate that as well.
Oh, good God, man. Every part of that giant statement. The run game is the worst part, too. Like, every year it's the same thing over and over. But it's okay. We'll see you in the Super Bowl. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So just to point out to the people that are listening, what Frank was referencing at the beginning is Frank plays a lot of Dynasty. So when he says he traded the 101 for Devontae Parker, that was the number 1 pick in this year's rookie draft, which means he could have probably had Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, most likely.
Yikes.
That's a tough trade right there. And drafting Laquan Treadwell
at 102? Oh, God.
It brutal. I know. I mean, look, a lot of people did it. I know Dynasty Frank was big on Doxson this year. He was a huge Doxson guy, so I know he spent a lot of draft capital on Josh Doxson, as did I actually, and that didn't work out. So, he's probably got a lot more to be pissed off. Maybe we can have him come back and do another one.
You know who a lot of people should have been using their draft pick, their Dynasty draft picks on? Sterling Shepard.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I don't know if you guys saw he scored another touchdown on Thursday.
He's good at football.
He's not bad. Not too shabby.
Jarrell Adams.
What's the snap count there, Sal? Is that still?
He was on the field tonight. I saw him almost get into a fight after a play tonight. So
yeah, I think that was special teams.
Jordan Reed. He's been watching Jordan Reed film.
That's right.
Nice.
All right.
We gotta move. We gotta move along. Even though we did say that Steve was not allowed to check our time this week. This, by the way, that's another one of my grievances. As I'll continue to give my minimal amount of grievances as we go along here. Steve's time checks. That's a grievance, and I gotta figure Sal's probably in on that one.
That's a grievance for everybody, even the listeners.
Oh, really, Jay? Supporting my argument that I give to Steven all the time.
You guys got too much time on your hands.
I actually blame Scott Fish for that because Scott put it into Steve's head that anything past 70 minutes, unlistenable.
Listen, I just would like to point out at this time that the 90-minute spectacular that Sal and I put out together was one of the highest rated falafel episodes of all time.
You can't just go around saying those things. Like,
I can't just make up. I can't make up stats.
No,
you said it. You said it. It was believable. But but nobody trusts the Pat stats.
You sold the
shit. Everybody double checks.
That's what makes it good.
Yeah. Well, all right. We'll move along. Our friend Zapped 52, I believe. Is that right?
Zachary Apt.
He is he's checking in here with his Festivus grievance.
So in my dad's league, a league that's been going on since before I was born and a league that we've never placed in, a team can only have one bench player per position. So a max of 3 running backs and 3 wide receivers on each team. In
Quit that league.
That is the race to the top of the standings, which we are a part of. We have the luxury of finding the AJ Green in free agency because his previous owner chose to stop paying the IR fee to keep him on his team. We pick him up in the hopes that he plays, but if not, hopefully we can leave him on the bench until next week. Of course, that's not the case. Our other receivers are Julio and Michael Thomas, both are questionable. So we have 3 questionable receivers. AJ Green ends up being ruled out. Julio ends up being ruled out. So we have to drop one of those 2 receivers so we don't have to take a 0 for this week. We end up dropping AJ Green. We pick up Steve Smith. We win the game. I know it doesn't sound like much of a grievance, but considering we would have won even if we kept AJ on our team and took a 0, I'm pretty heated that we aren't finishing the season with those 2 elite wideouts on our team.
You spoiled son of a bitch.
Yeah, so not only did he complain about a win, but it sounds like the league rules are stupid. I'm not gonna lie.
It's it's the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's like you're complaining about good problems. It's like, oh, our crab meat wasn't organically fresh. It's farmed crab. It's farmed crab.
Zap, we do appreciate you sending in a grievance.
Absolutely.
But so far, you sound like the least person who has any problems.
That is very true. Lots of these grievances have actual issues. It sounds like you guys still won, and good for you. Hope you guys place in the league this year because it sounds like that's a long drought, and nobody likes that.
I do think it's awesome that he plays with his dad, though. So that's great.
Sal, don't give me so much a hard time on being in like an old or league with crazy rules. You're in the super old league too.
Yes.
Don't you send your roster by carrier pigeon?
Yes, and a few of them was shot down this year, and my roster never got there. So that's the reason why I'm not the 3-peat champion.
Oh, man. All right, guys. We have a special treat for the next one. It's a lady.
Ooh. Well, hello.
Hello, Ms. Lady.
Yes. Our new friend, she's somewhat new to the app, but our Ben, jumped right in with both feet for sure. Battleborn Case has been around quite a bit lately.
Yeah, she's a Chiefs fan. Let's move on.
But yeah, she's going to check in with her grievance. So let's hear it.
Hey guys, this is at Battleborn Case from the Fantasy Life app. Just here to give my ranting Festivus for FLAFFL House. I'm sure a lot of you have already heard it, but mine is Kelvin Benjamin. He's like that boyfriend who keeps promising me he's going to get his together. And all he does is sit on my couch and smoke my pot and play Call of Duty all day with Cam Newton. So maybe he had 2-3 relevant fantasy games this year. It was a total bust. And despite that, I'm still in my championship. So I guess I can't really complain too much like some of you guys with Jordan Reed or Crowder. But yeah, that's my Festivus. Kelvin Benjamin.
I do like making fun of Boston. Anytime we can make fun of Boston on this podcast, I'm in on it.
Yeah,
First of all, Sal, you should know that is a Simpsons reference.
It doesn't matter. It's making fun of a Boston accent.
Well, that's true, but it should be noted that it's a Simpsons reference. Say, Crowder.
Wow,
I prefer give me the pre-wax snakes.
Yes, nice, very nice. Listen, that was great. Look, I don't think Kelvin Benjamin really screwed a lot of people. Obviously, she's in the championship. I can understand being pissed off at him, but he did slip in drafts a little bit.
He was like a third or fourth round pick at the latest, but I agree. I think if you wised up early and ditched out on him, then he's probably not hurting you anymore. But some people keep the faith and they keep it for too long. I know I have him in a dynasty league and I rolled him out there all season and I didn't make the playoffs. So I was one of those people that thought that he would come around, didn't want to miss out on those big games. And I can agree. I bet a lot of people are frustrated with him this year. I agree with that.
I feel like that's probably a grievance of mine as well, right? Is that this year it was so hard to quit guys because it was guys that you didn't expect to be terrible.
I wish I could quit you.
Right. Disturbing.
Yeah, that's.
Is that the actual line? Because I've never seen the movie.
I don't know. I've never seen the movie, but I'm sure you nailed it because, we're just going to move on.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Listen, so KS44, one of my favorite guys on the app, and he Falafel Junior member. A lot of people don't know, but he was very, very close to making it into the original Falafel. He was obviously we elected 4 new people this year when Steve rudely booted out 4 guys that weren't around. For me, I voted for KS44 over One Little Indian because that guy sucks. But
he's on the show. He's on the show.
Shoot.
He's just bitter about the Giants. That's all. It's okay.
Listen, so KS44, what do you got to tell us today?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is KS44, and I'm speaking live from my fantasy deathbed. I just wanted to speak on the people who got me here. Derek Carr, Amari Cooper, you carried my team all year long. But when I needed you the most, you were nowhere to be found. As I was put down in fantasy shame, you two combined to score some of your lowest outputs of all year when I needed you the most. And my last person who got me into this fantasy grave is you, Phillip Rivers. If you would have used the power of the bolo tie instead of turning around and fumbling, Melvin Gordon would still be here to make my team what it was all year long. I just want to say, rest in peace.
Now that was the one I was waiting for because of how bad I lost Melvin Gordon. And if you look back at that week, it cost me the FLAFFL playoffs because he left after only scoring 0.5 and his backup came in and got over 10 points and I lost by 7. So good job. KS44 is my first friend on the Fantasy Life app. The very first person I had an extended conversation with on the Fantasy Life app way back in early August or late July of 2015. He popped into one of my shouts and we talked one night for hours. And he's become a great falafeler and a good friend.
He's a good dude. He's a good dude. He did. I think that was his homage to the Undertaker, as he is a wrestling dude.
Yeah, so, you could definitely tell the wrestling fandom at the very end of that. It was awesome.
I like that. I like that. And I feel bad. In one league, I actually traded him Amari Cooper, which is terrible. I got Christine Michael because I needed a running back so bad, and I took such a hit. But I still
You traded Cooper for Michael?
I did. I needed a running back so bad.
Get out of here. Just leave the room. Get out.
No, you're not allowed to be on this podcast, man.
I still almost made the final, and it wasn't because of my receivers. I had Crabtree. I had like 5 good receivers in that league. I didn't need Cooper, and I didn't believe in Cooper down the stretch. But I'm with him on Derek Carr because Derek Carr cost me the finals in my home league. In week 14 and 15, he killed fantasy owners. 16 points throughout 2 weeks, 5 and 11. That's terrible. Derek Carr killed so many seasons.
I'm right there with the Jameis Winston and Mike Evans. I had that combo in quite a few leagues, and I am not in the championship game in any of them because they had the rough couple weeks. So,
you know whose season Derek Carr didn't kill? The Raiders.
Not yet, buddy. Not yet.
It will happen.
MVP.
It will happen.
MVP.
Where's that?
All right, guys. Speaking of MVP, this next one is definitely someone that we all consider to be an MVP. Our good friend Beta Pooh. Nothing? Nothing?
No, that was straight crickets.
Yeah, all right. So listen, Steve. Well, you've heard it, Steve. So I'm gonna ask Jay. What do you think Beta Pooh could possibly complain about?
Oh, it's got to be his most infamous keeper, J.I.J. It's gotta be that.
The keeper. So for those of you who don't know, in the FLAFFL League, and maybe Jay, I honestly don't remember what he's got in here, so we'll see. But Beta Pooh is famous in the FLAFFL League for having kept Jay Ajayi this year, which you think about, it's not a bad keeper. But 2 weeks into the season, dropped him.
I think it was one weekend.
The week after he missed the flight, he dropped him. Waiver Wednesday, he dropped him.
Yep. So he was obviously picked up by the guy who'll be playing in the championship. So, yeah. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hey guys, Brandon DePau here, B2Poo on the Fantasy Life app, fellow FLAFFL House brass member. I'm joining you on this wonderful FLAFFL Friday Festivus with my grievance, which has to do with a lot of unluckiness for me this year. Consistently, I was a top 5 scorer, and yeah, I was unlucky enough to catch everyone's seemingly best week. I was going up against a top 3 or top 2 scorer. Finishing the season 5-8 was a disappointment. And the second part of my grievance would be that as much as I complained about it, it seemed that Steve's situation was always worse. Poor little Steve. He might get relegated. Boo, who? I don't care. My grievance means more to me than yours. I drafted a good team. I had a good team. Didn't even make the playoffs. I'm pissed. I'm going to come back next year with a vengeance and kick all of your bloody asses. See ya.
No graphic finish to that.
Yeah, Noah Jai. He did try to go with the drop the mic finish. You're right, though.
Yeah, and Brandon, he takes a lot of shots at me in my possible relegation, and it sucks because I have nothing to combat it with. So it's until next week, I guess. Until next.
Way to fight back, Steve. Nice.
Yeah, seriously, that's
like I said,
wow.
I got nothing. You got nothing. I'm in a game for my life this week. What do you want me to say?
You just dropped a white flag out of your pocket.
Hey.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys just wait.
You really killed the mood of the pod.
Oh, really? Really? Come on.
We were all having a good time. Now it's just sad. All right, so let's look. We got one more, and but before we get to it, I think we have a surprise here. We have a surprise grievance. Little commentary from our friend Matthew Berry about B2Poo's grievance.
Right, you can't be much worse than Brandon. Everyone knows that.
Oh. Wow.
I would have to agree.
Matthew, very poignant, very poignant.
Matthew always drops in with just the best stuff, doesn't he?
He does.
I think he would say hashtag analysis.
That's definitely hashtag analysis. Wait, what was that again, Matthew Berry? All right. Well, that was good.
You can't be much worse than Brandon. Everyone knows that.
There it is. All right. So, Sal, we got one more left. These guys, you were on their show, so why don't you introduce them?
Oh, this is my boys from the basement sports report, Clayton and Zick. So this is actually going to be good for B2Poo because B2Poo, after I went on the show and I went head-to-head on Zick's picks and I lost by 1 because I didn't have the courage to take my own Raiders against the Broncos that week. I lost by 1. And then B2Poo went on this show twice and actually beat Zick. So he's the current champion on that show. So roll out the basement sports report, boys.
Right, you can't be much worse than Brandon. Everyone knows that.
Sorry, I just can't get enough.
This is Clayton Windsor and Dan Bertzik. We are the Basement Sports Report at Podcast BSR. Dan, what pissed you off this year, bro?
I got to tell you what, the one thing that pissed me off more than anything was seeing Jeff Fisher fired.
That was your content.
And not because I'm a Rams fan. It was because that was my favorite segment of the week, was just saying what Jeff Fisher did wrong this week.
Mine was AJ Green going down. He got me 0 points for 5 weeks in a row, and because of that, he was my big scorer. I didn't make the playoffs in my league.
I think the thing that cut me the deepest this year was Brandon DePau. Yeah. FLAFFL House. He came on our show twice
and waxed
me
over
twice.
And over again. We got him coming on week 17 too, and I'm guessing he's gonna wax you again.
Wow.
There you go, Brandon. We knocked you down and we picked you back up.
Does that mean someone is worse than Brandon?
I guess. I don't know. Should we check in with Matthew Berry?
Right, you can't be much worse than Brandon.
Okay.
Everyone knows that.
Oh, good. All right.
Nope. I had to check.
Yeah, that clears up. All right, guys, that's it for the submissions of the grievances. We want to thank everyone for sending those in. That was a lot of fun. We really appreciate it. And, it just, for me, I think that our listeners are awesome. Friends of the show are awesome. And, everyone on the Fantasy Life app that we encounter been really supportive of this show this year and helped us out a lot. So we really, really do appreciate it. Hopefully we gave you a little bit of a platform here to kind of get some things out and make yourself feel better going into this holiday season. And with that said, Jay, we're going to let you kick off the grievances here by letting us know what pissed you off.
Wow. Well, I guess, Derek Carr and my love for kickers and everybody else's hate were my first two. But I have a couple more bones to pick, and one is with someone who I was very high on, along with many other people coming into the fantasy season, and that's Lamar Miller. Never have I been so disappointed to own a top 15 back with such consistency, other than the fact that he just constantly didn't do what you needed him to do at the cost of a first-round draft pick. He didn't have those 20, 30-point games, even though there was only, 3 of them or whatever the season before. He didn't even have that impact, and half of it is because of ass washer, but the other half is the O-line. But overall, it's the fact that he did that to me with such an early draft pick, and his punishment will be to be owned by me next year, because I'm sure he will make it up to his fantasy owners. The talent is there. The offense will come back around, I'm sure, because ass washer will get washed away. Nobody wants that smell for 2 years in their uniform. So they will move on from that, I'm sure, in some way and improve that line. So I will be looking back to him next year, but he is one of my grievances. The other one goes to my home league. These guys force me now to continue to play standard fantasy football. I feel like I'm living in the 80s and mailing my lineup in with carrier pigeons with Sal. But even that league has points per reception in different categories. So I'm hoping this offseason I can convince them to join the modern era, I would call it. I can't even say the future because it's the norm now, and get into some form of PPR. So those would be my 2 biggest grievances I have this year for fantasy football.
Tell them to move indoors, Jay, because we all know standard football is for the homeless.
There it is. And there it is. So, Sal, why don't you just move right into your grievances?
Hey, before I get to my grievances, I'm going to send out a shout out to my uncle Tony Lito. So here's a little tidbit about Festivus. My uncle works for the Wagner Companies in Milwaukee. They are a steel company. And back in 2005, he had the idea of selling Festivus poles. They did it just to have some fun the first year. And, 11 years later, they are the world's largest manufacturer and distributor of Festivus poles. And if you want to get a Festivus pole, I know it's December 23rd when you're listening to this, and it's actually Festivus Day. But if you go to festivuspoles.com, you can get one for next year, and that is a true story. My uncle actually did come up with the idea of selling Festivus poles.
Please tell me you know how many they sell a year.
I don't have the most recent numbers. I know that they sold like 250 the first year and up to 2,500, and it's grown really, really much larger. But if you go to their website, you could probably find stories and numbers and all that. And I know my uncle's on LinkedIn. He's got a story from December 1st, 2016 on LinkedIn about the Festivus poll. So
where's the FLAFFL promo code?
Yeah, that's right. We want 10% of every FLAFFL poll. Anyway, so my grievances, I like to start out with a coach, Doug Peterson, the guy who's coaching the Philadelphia Eagles tonight. Doug, you're the type of guy that makes us all like Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is not. That's right. He's likable when dealing with you. Even his running backs are more trustworthy than your running backs. You tell us Ryan Matthews, the starter, he plays for eight carries, scores a touchdown, and then he's benched. So next week we don't play him. He gets 20 carries and 2 touchdowns, and Sproles is on the bench. This is the reason why your team lost 8 of the last 10 games, Doug, because you're a jerk-off, and I don't appreciate you, and I'll never take another running back as long as you're coaching that team. Let me move on to Michael Floyd, my highest touted player this year, the guy I swore would be a big breakout player. Even though Mark co-creator of the Fantasy Life app, who went to Notre Dame with him, told me, Sal, don't fall for it. We fell for it. We know he's got the big size. He comes out this year, and in 13 games, he has 33 receptions, 446 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And then, embarrassing and disgustingly, if you've seen the video on TMZ of him driving drunk, he actually fell asleep behind the wheel, had to be woken up by police officers, and when they took him out of the car, he was so beyond intoxicated, it was very difficult to even watch that video. So, Michael Floyd, you're an embarrassment to the NFL. You're an embarrassment to people. You're an embarrassment, period. I hope the Patriots cut you.
I'm all about second chances.
Oh, God. He's going to win a ring this year. I know he's going to win a ring this year. And my final grievance is going to go to my Scott Fish Bowl team. I was so excited to be included in the Scott Fish Bowl this year, and we all got in there, and it was great. And I remember we were drafting, and that first couple of days on Twitter, how much fun, and I was dancing around with some of my draft picks. I'd like to give you the list of guys on my team that left injured and missed games, some significant, some a couple of weeks. Deion Lewis, when I drafted you, it was said you would be ready for week 1. You missed the first 9 games of the season. Theo Riddick, you missed 4 games. You're currently not playing. Darren Sproles missed a game. Wendell Smallwood went on IR. Julio Jones, we know what you've been doing the last 3 weeks. It's not playing football. Dante Moncrief missed 7 games this season. Kevin White went on IR in week 5. Jordan Reed, see Julio Jones. People might not remember that Zach Ertz got hurt in game 1 and missed almost 3 full weeks at the beginning of the season. That buried me. Oh, look, Michael Floyd was on my roster. Let me just cross him out right there. And last but not least, a guy who I drafted late, who I thought was a real deep sleeper in this format where you play 2 QBs and you get a quarter point per carry. RG3, week 1. You played the rest of the game and somehow you injured your shoulder when the game was over, and you missed every week until this past week. So I believe I listed 11 guys on a 22-man roster hurt and missed significant time, and that's why I was on the outside looking in while everybody else was playing and having fun.
All right. Is that it? Is that all?
I got more. No, I'm just kidding. That's it.
All right, Steve, you're up, buddy. We know you have a lot to grieve about.
I do. And this is so to share my falafel woes properly. I felt it should best be given in poem form. 'Twas the night before Christmas, so that is what I've done, chronicling my terrible season here in falafel. So here we go. 'Twas the night before draft day, and all through the house, Sid Skeet was stirring to the chagrin of his spouse. The draft board was hung in the office with care in hopes that a championship soon would be there. With a strategy mapped out deep in his head, nothing prepared him for this season of dread. They gathered on Skype and started to draft, and not 3 hours later, he'd gotten the shaft. After week 1, it started to shatter, and something was different. Russell Wilson looked fatter. All of his hope went up in a flash when Moncrief got injured and Alshon was trash. The season continued to deal him some blows, and now his frustration was starting to show. Then in the fog of his mind it came clear, a trade was the answer, but first, one more beer. So he hit up his league mates and sold him his tricks, and his roster was changed in a few simple clicks. Quicker than Kev on wedding night they came, and instantly fizzled, so he punched them by name.
Wow.
Lace, Early, Kelly, and Booker. Edelman too, you cheap pirate. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, I'll push you all off, and I'll laugh as you fall. He continued to slump, and he didn't know why, and for the 6th time this season, he started to cry. Relegation was looming, and it didn't seem true. With each mounting loss, his chances, they grew. He'd be out of falafel, he'd seen all the proof, and he climbed up the chimney to jump off the roof. And just before jumping, some fortune he found as L-Dog ran his team into the ground. He was dressed all in fear from his head to his foot, and he opened the standings, almost too scared to look. A couple of teams had started to crack, and Sid Skeet began to gain on the pack. His team was not out, it wasn't so scary, and he thought, oh my god, falafel might spare me. Fear changed to hope, and it started to show, and he still had a chance with just 3 weeks to go. His fists were clenched tight, and as were his teeth as he set off to take down L-Dog that week. The worst trade partner ever, the crap he tried selling, and then would come in the chat like his wasn't smelly. With just one board loss, he'd be placed on the shelf, so he laughed when he beat him in spite of himself. Relegation was almost assured, yet instead, he was barely alive and he still wasn't dead. He spoke not a word and went straight to work and filled out his lineup to beat Gio, that jerk. And just as his chances of staying they rose, he lost yet again because his team really blows. It's staying all the way through that Week 16 whistle until victory came and he dodged his dismissal. But I heard him exclaim as he won his long fight, "F*** you, Falafel, I'll be back on draft night."
Wow.
Wow.
Well done, sir.
That was awesome. That's pretty impressive, Steve. Great work.
Thank
I
you.
will take the insult in that. Even
Steve, did you just predict that you're going to win this week?
Perhaps. I we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I can't predict. I've won 3 games in 15 weeks. I can't predict anything.
Oh, shut up. One of them was against me.
Yeah, that was that week 1. So long season of many heartbreaks. So
The only time he was above 500 because of me. Good.
That's true.
Nice.
Very true.
All right, Steve, that was awesome. Look, I don't really have any grievances, as I said. I got a couple that I gave throughout the show. I've had a pretty good fantasy season, probably because everything went crazy, so I somehow lucked out. But look, if any of you are looking for any last-minute gift ideas for me, I have one. I'd like Roger Goodell, the commissioner, right here tonight. I want him brought from his happy holiday slumber over there at NFL headquarters with all the other rich people, and I want him brought right here with a big ribbon on his head. And I want to look him straight in the eye, and I want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-limbed, worm-headed sack of monkey he is. Hallelujah. Holy where's the Tylenol? Steve,